Hey, my name's James Nicholson. I hope you're well. In this video, we're going to talk about why leasehold properties have suddenly got very hard to sell. What's happening? What potentially might fix that? And what can you do if you own a leasehold property? Now, before we jump into that, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. We're nearly at 70,000 viewers every single month now, which is absolutely insane. We've got nearly 6,000 subscribers. 500,000 people have watched this channel so far, which is absolutely bonkers. And while you're here, make sure you smash the like button over there, guys. Go on, do that right now. Smash the like button because that helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And we want to get more viewers as well. Let's hit 100,000 views soon. So, what's going on with leasehold properties? Well, first off, there's two types of property that you might have. You have a freehold property, and that's where you own the land underneath the property. That might be, for example, a house. Most commonly, houses are freehold. However, you do get some new builds that are leasehold. But on the whole, most properties that are houses are a freehold property. Now, you also get something called leasehold. And leasehold is where you're actually just leasing it for a very, very long time. And so that's normally a flat. And so someone else owns the land and you get a lease for 99 years, or it could be 999 years. And right now, there's something going through Parliament called the Leasehold Reform Act. I've done quite a few videos on that on this channel. And that is potentially going to abolish leases because in other countries, you don't get leases. They're not something that happens. However, it's very hard to just abolish them because a lot of wealth is owned in freeholds. So you can't just abolish these and give people the freehold. That wouldn't be fair. So they're trying to figure it out. But the reason they are is because there are some unscrupulous freeholders that do very deceptive strategies. For example, putting into a lease that the ground rent, which is a yearly charge, that it doubles every certain amount of years. And you might look at it and say, well, it's 100 quid and it doubles every year. Very quickly, that gets very, very expensive. And so these are little tricks that people have done that has meant the government now wants to step in. Now, another big problem you have with leaseholds is if you get below 70 years, below 80 years, you will get something called a short lease. Although the lease, you're not likely to live 70 years yourself, the banks now start getting worried about that property. And so they won't lend on properties that have a short lease. So you then have to go to the freeholder and ask to extend the lease. Now, let's just say that you have a property and with a short lease, it's worth £100,000. Because it's worth less money if you were to sell it. But if you had a long lease on it, it could be worth £200,000. Now, there's something called marriage value. Marriage value. That's really, really important. So marriage value is if you extended the lease, your property is worth £100,000 more. So that's the extra value that is increased is 100 grand. And to extend the lease, you have to give the landlord half of that money. So they're going to benefit in the lease extension. So that means to extend that lease would cost you £50,000. £50,000. Now, some people bought leasehold properties and had no idea about this marriage value thing. And there's tons of people that have that scenario because thousands, like tens of thousands of you have watched those videos on this channel. And if you look at the leasehold reform videos I've made, there are hundreds and hundreds of comments from people that just didn't know this was a thing, right? And so this is a problem. And so the government is stepping in and they're looking to abolish marriage value. So they're looking to abolish marriage value. So there'll be something to replace it. We don't know what that is or how that will work exactly yet. But we do know potentially that there will be some mechanism to working out how much you should pay. And it won't be anywhere near 50 grand to extend the value by 100. Now, that means that property would be worth more, it will cost you less to do this. The problem for landlords or people that own leasehold properties at the moment is it's not certain when this is going to happen. It's been talked about that it's going to happen at the end of this year, but we don't know for sure. We don't know 100% that it will get passed in Parliament. And so what that means is that people are becoming aware of this. This is coming into the news on a regular basis. People talking about leaseholds being abolished. It's on Sky News, The Sun, the Daily Mail, all these big news outlets. They're talking about it now because it's something big and it's something that potentially could make a very big difference in the property market. So what that means is that people at the moment don't want to buy leasehold properties because they didn't know this existed before. And so there's less interest in leasehold properties, which is meaning people are struggling to sell them. In Dorking, there's a number of leasehold properties on Rightmove at the moment that people aren't buying. They're just sitting on the market. Now, part of that is obviously with what the market currently sits at, but also it's a case of this is a problem that needs to be addressed quite quickly. If you want to see an interesting one, have a look in Hastings on Rightmove. Have a look, go and look on Rightmove, search for Hastings, search by cheapest flats. There's a number of flats on there where the ground rent has somehow managed to get to £10,000 per year. Now, those flats would rent for around 600, so about £7,000 a year you would get in rent off that property. But your ground rent to the landlord is 10 grand. So you would lose money owning that property. It just wouldn't be possible to buy. And they have been on there, some of them, for 10 years because of this problem. Now, there's a chance that if this Leasehold Reform Act gets passed, ground rent has already been abolished, right? So you can renew a lease nowadays and extend the lease and get the ground rent back down to zero, which is a good thing. The second part is the marriage value. And so these things are going through the pipeline. That flat will suddenly sell if this Leasehold Reform Act works in their favour because it's sat there for so long. It's only like 40 or 50 grand, probably worth 150 with all of these problems gone. So this is why in this market, you've got less buyers. You've got people aware that the freeholders have these like holds over you at the moment. And you've got the uncertainty of, is the legislation going to change at the end of this year? All of that is coupling together to mean leasehold sales are really, really tough at the moment. And so that means that they're not necessarily going to sell. People might do some big discounts on them. Will that still get them to sell? I don't know, because people like certainty. People don't like complicated deals. Let me know what you think about this. Maybe you have a leasehold property. Maybe you're waiting for this new legislation to come through like me. I'd love to know your thoughts and comments. Do join in the conversation in the comments below. Do like the video, guys. Do check out all the other content on my channel, including this video right here.